what documents should you bring to your citizenship interview? I'm Erick Widman, I'm an immigration lawyer, and after you've submitted your citizenship application, Form N-400, you've attended your biometrics appointment, you should then receive an interview notice in the mail. And on that notice, you'll be instructed to come at a certain time, show up at the field office that's closest to you, a specific date and time, and bring a number of specific items to your interview. So you want to pay very close attention, of course, to this document, and as a practical matter, set up a reminder in your calendar or on your smartphone to simply not miss that date and make sure you're there at least a half hour ahead of time before the appointment. In addition, look down on the first page of that interview notice form, about 3/4 of the way down, in big bold letters, the notice says, you must bring the following items with you, and there are a number of bullet points listed there that are very helpful, that lay out what you need to bring in, but it's not a full, complete list for many people. So you'll also want to check the N-400 instructions and a few other places like the USCIS policy manual, or even videos like this to help you know what you should bring in. So first, you need to bring in the interview notice letter itself. You have to provide that letter to the security guards right when you're entering the field office. So you won't be able to get through into the building unless the officer looks at your form and sees that, yes, you are in fact on time, today's the right day, you're not too early or too late. So your interview notice letter. In addition, your adjudicating officer at the interview itself is going to ask you for your green card, your passport, and another form of state ID, driver's license. That's typically the best thing to bring in, and it's a requirement to show that you live in the jurisdiction of that particular field office. So you have to show that you live there and that you are able to attend this specific interview rather than going someplace else, a different field office. So a driver's license accomplishes that with your address listed right there. In addition, you will want to bring in expired passports. Those passports can show some helpful information to your adjudicating officer, such as you received a visa on a specific date, or that you have traveled on specific dates and times, entered the US at a specific date and time, and that can help prove your case and confirm to your interviewing officer that you are indeed entitled to naturalize because you meet the continuous residence test, for example. So those are some key fundamental things that every applicant has to bring in. In addition, if you're a man, you have to provide proof that you satisfied the Selective service registration requirement. So you are asked to bring in proof that, yes, you did register if required, because you're between ages 18 and 26. If you're required to register, you had a green card, for example, then you have to show them you did that, or provide a status information letter from the Selective Service if you did not. So those requirements apply when you're a male seeking to naturalize. In addition, if you've been arrested or detained anywhere in the world, you've got to bring in some additional documents. So here's where the list can get a little tricky. So I have down here in my notes, arrested or detained anywhere in the world, you got to bring in a court-certified arrest report and a certified statement from the court or arresting agency. In addition, if you've been arrested or detained anywhere and charges were filed, you've got to bring in court-certified arrest reports, charging documents, and court dispositions. If you were convicted, you also need to bring in final sentencing documents, the final disposition of the case. And if your record was actually expunged, then you need to bring a court-certified order for this expungement explaining why your record no longer exists, because the court order will explain that's what happened. Similarly, if you don't have a court order for the expungement, you will need a letter from the court that says this record no longer exists. This guidance is all laid out in the N400 instructions, so I encourage you to take a look there. So if you have a criminal issue in the past, you're also going to want to bring in evidence with you to the interview that shows that you do have good moral character for the necessary statutory period. Statutory period is normally 5 years unless you're married to a US citizen. So if, for example, in the past you had a criminal issue or hadn't paid your taxes, it's a good idea to show USCIS that you have good moral character now for the required period and bring in evidence that you filed tax returns for the required period. Bring in some letters of support that show USCIS that your colleagues or your boss, members of your church think you're great. And those letters of support can lay out some practical examples is what we recommend as to why you have such excellent character. So in addition, when you're married to a US citizen and you're naturalizing in 3 years, you have to bring in some additional documents to show you have a bona fide marriage and that your spouse is qualified to, in fact, allow you to move along this faster timeline. So the documents you need there, a certified marriage certificate between you and your spouse, any divorce or death certificates for either you or your current spouse and your prior spouses, and your spouse's birth certificate. Those documents are all crucial. Finally, if you are naturalizing on the basis of your military service, bring in your discharge certificate or Form DD 214. So a number of required documents that can be confusing. Hope this list was helpful. If you have questions, definitely get in touch and take care.